Well, how are we going to know whether that epigastric pain, how are we going to know whether that epigastric pain is ulcer disease? Without endoscopy. How can I determine if this pain that you have here is gastric ulcer, duodenal ulcer, gastritis without endoscopy? How do I tell whether the pain in here is ulcer disease or talking to your mother too much on the phone? How do I know what the pain in here is from? How can I tell without endoscopy? And the answer is, I can't. Barium studies are always worse. Barium studies are always worse. So therefore, the only way to tell those apart is with endoscopy. Now, you don't have to do endoscopy to diagnose Helicobacter pylori. You could do serologic testing. Now, what's good about serologic testing? It's extremely sensitive. Sensitive meaning that a negative test rules it out. Sensitive, snout. A negative test rules it out. Negative, snout. A negative test rules it out. Negative, snout. A negative test rules it out. However, a positive test is not very accurate. A positive test might mean that you're colonized. A positive test might mean that you had Helicobacter pylori last year. A positive test might mean that you had ulcer disease last year. A positive test is not very specific. Which of the following is the most specific diagnostic test? Which of the following, if positive, is most likely to include the Helicobacter pylori? Which of the following is the most specific test? The answer is biopsy. This is a very specific test. A positive test rules it in. It's very specific. A positive test rules it in. Specific. Spin. A positive test rules it in. Spin. This, a negative test, rules it out the snout. Now, breath testing changes in response to therapy. Breath testing, if you take your treatment for that Helicobacter pylori, you're going to have better breath than you do right now. If you have the Helicobacter pylori therapy, the breath test will become negative. You'll kill off all the little bugs, and you won't have Helicobacter stool in your stool if you treat the Helicobacter pylori. So therefore, breath tests and stool antigen tests respond to therapy. They change with therapy. Watch me, don't get lost on the turn here. Ready? They change in response to therapy the most rapidly. Ready? When do we do a test of cure? You have a duodenal ulcer. I scoped you. I know what's there. I know you got a duodenal ulcer. I know you tried to hide it, but I've been inside you in places no one has ever been, and I have seen the duodenal ulcer, and I have seen the evil that you sometimes have inside you, but I still love you. Well, I've given you the proton pump inhibitor and the 2 antibiotics, and I have treated you with the proton pump inhibitor, clarithromycin, and amoxicillin. I have treated you with clarithromycin and amoxicillin, and I have used a combination of a proton pump inhibitor and 2 antibiotics. A proton pump inhibitor